US president has once again claimed that India has agreed to stop buying oil from Russia. Speaking at the White House during his meeting with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, Donald Trump said Prime Minister Modi has assured him that India will not purchase Russian oil anymore.
India is not going to be buying Russian oil anymore. And Hungary is sort of stuck because they have one pipeline that's been there for years and years and years, and they're inland. They don't have sea. They don't have sea. And I spoke with the very great leader of Hungary, and they are, it's very hard for them to get oil. I understand it. Hungary's in a very interesting position because they can't have ports. They're surrounded by land. So we'll see what happens there. But India will not be buying oil from Russia. And, they've already de-escalated, and they've more or less stopped. They're pulling back. They bought about 38% of the oil, and they won't be doing it anymore.
And this is the second time that Donald Trump has claimed that India will stop buying oil from Russia. Earlier, Trump made similar claims, but the Ministry of External Affairs clarified that no conversation took place between the Prime Minister of India and US President Donald Trump. In fact, MEA spokesperson Ranveer Jaiswal said that India's energy decisions are guided entirely by national interest, aimed at ensuring stable prices and secure supplies for consumers. He added that India continues to expand energy partnerships globally, including with the United States, while maintaining strategic autonomy in its energy procurement. And during a meeting at the White House, US President Donald Trump said that Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro had offered everything and seemed keen to avoid any conflict with the United States. His remark come amid rising tensions between US and Venezuela, following Donald Trump's authorization of a covert CIA operation in the country.
Everything in his country, all the natural resources. He even recorded a message to you in English recently, offering mediation. What should we do in order to stop that?
He has offered everything. He's offered everything. You're right. You know why? Because he doesn't want to around with the United States. Thank you, everybody.
And US President Donald Trump welcomed Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky at the White House on Friday in Washington. A key topic of discussion was Ukraine's request for long-range Tomahawk missiles, which could allow Ukrainian forces to strike deep within Russian territory. Zelensky, at the start of the White House talks, said that he had a proposition in which Ukraine could provide the United States with advanced drones, while Washington would sell Kyiv the Tomahawk cruise missiles. However, Trump said he was hesitant to tap into US supply. In fact, in recent days, Donald Trump has shown an openness to selling Ukraine the Tomahawks, even as Putin warned that such a move would further strain the US-Russia relations. Trump's latest statement seems a turnaround and more in line with Putin's demands. Now, following Thursday's call with Putin, Trump began downplaying the prospects of Ukraine getting the missiles.
U.S. President Donald Trump on Friday was lukewarm to the idea of sending Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine.
They're a very powerful weapon, but they're a very dangerous weapon, and it could mean big, escalation. It could mean a lot of bad things can happen. Tomahawks are a big deal.
While Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky came to Washington looking for a military boost, when the pair spoke to reporters on Friday, Trump frequently brought up his upcoming summit with Russia's Vladimir Putin. That meeting came together quickly the day before, deflating Zelensky's pursuit of weapons.
I think that President Putin wants to end the war, or I wouldn't be talking this way. I think he wants to end the war. I spoke to him yesterday for 2.5 hours. We went through a lot of details. He wants to get it ended. I think that President Zelensky wants to get it ended. Now we have to get it done.
Zelensky later told reporters he didn't want to comment on the missiles and called the day's talks with Trump productive.
We trust the United States. We trust President that he wants to finish this war.
It's still unclear what Putin said to Trump that led him to agree to the meeting. A summit in August in Alaska ended early with little to show. Trump's upbeat tone after talking with Putin now has put a question mark over assisting Ukraine and sparked fears in the EU of a deal that favors Moscow. An EU spokesperson said it welcomed talks with Putin if they could help bring peace to Ukraine. Russia has made some territorial gains this year, but Ukraine's top military commander said Thursday that the Russian offensive had failed, while Putin said this month his forces had taken another 1% of Ukraine's territory, on top of the 20% it already holds. Both sides have ratcheted up attacks on each other's energy systems, and Russian jets have strayed into NATO territory.
Moving on, Madagascar's coup leader, Colonel Michael Randrianirina, was sworn in as the president to cheers, blaring trumpets and raised swords, days after taking control of the island nation in the wake of a youth-led protest that forced out his predecessor. Take a look.
Madagascar's coup leader, Colonel Michael Randrianirina, was sworn in as president on Friday. His inauguration taking place just days after the military took control of the island nation in the wake of youth-led protests that forced out his predecessor.
Today marks a historic turning point for our country. With a people in turmoil, driven by the desire for change and a deep love for their homeland, we joyfully open a new chapter in our national life.
Former leader Andry Rajoelina, who was impeached by lawmakers after fleeing abroad, refuses to step down while in exile. Both the African Union and the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres have condemned the coup. However, the High Constitutional Court ratified the army's takeover within hours of it happening. Randrianirina has said that a committee led by the military will rule for up to 2 years alongside a transitional government before organizing new elections. Frank Lekaba, a senior lecturer at Wits University in Johannesburg, said the military's involvement in the transition of power has complicated the situation, giving it, quote, the hallmarks of a coup.
So if you don't manage the transition very well, you run a risk of losing investors, you run a risk of worsening, deteriorating the situation, of rebuilding the country and all of that. So I'm skeptical, but I'm looking keenly to look at what follows in terms of the protest now and the rebuilding of a new government, what follows. Then from there, I think I may have a little bit of optimism looking at what the new government will do.
With a population of about 30 million and an average age under 20, Madagascar faces significant challenges. 3/4 of its people live in poverty, and the average income is around $600 a month. Since its independence in 1960, the country's GDP per capita plunged by nearly half, according to the World Bank, making it one of the few nations to have become worse off over that period.
Shifting focus now, Prince Andrew announced on Friday that he will no longer use his royal titles, including Duke of York, following discussions with King Charles. In a statement released by Buckingham Palace, Andrew said, and I quote, "After discussions with the King and my family, we have concluded that the ongoing accusations surrounding me distract from His Majesty's work, and I have always put my duty to my family and country first and stand by my decision to step back from public life." According to CNN, the decision takes immediate effect and was made after consultations with Prince William and other senior royals. Andrew's former wife, Duchess of York, Sarah, will now be referred to as Sarah Ferguson, and their daughter, Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie, will retain royal status. The prince will also no longer join royal Christmas celebrations, but will continue to reside at the Royal Lodge in Windsor under a private tenancy. He remains a prince as the son of the late Queen Elizabeth II. Now, Prince Andrew's first withdrawal from public duties came in 2019 after a widely criticized BBC interview addressing his friendship with convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. He has now faced renewed scrutiny over his ties to both Epstein and Yang Tengbo, an alleged Chinese spy, although he has vigorously denied all accusations. Now, in 2015, Virginia Giuffre filed a civil lawsuit accusing Andrew of sexually abusing her when she was underage, claiming that she was trafficked by Epstein. Andrew denied the allegations, but reached an undisclosed out-of-court settlement with her in 2022, avoiding a trial but losing his military titles and patronage. More recently, the court documents reveal that Yang Tengbo had close links with Andrew and was once authorized to represent him in the meetings with Chinese investors. A UK tribunal in December of 2024 upheld a decision to ban Yang from entering the country amid espionage concerns and allegations that she has denied ever since. The Mexico Navy has deployed multiple helicopters and ground crew on Thursday to deliver supplies and clear debris in flood-ravaged areas where the death toll has now reached 70. Within the last few hours alone, 72 people are still missing as a result of that massive environmental disaster. Now, Navy pilot speaking to media said that crews are conducting several flights using the Mi-17 and Black Hawk and Panther helicopter to deliver supplies, survey damaged roads and monitor river flows in the affected region. In eastern Mexico, one of the areas which is hardest hit by flooding, naval officers unloaded boxes of supplies from trucks and worked to remove debris from the mud-choked streets, but survivors say that the help isn't reaching everyone quickly enough. Meanwhile, President Claudia Sheinbaum confirmed that the death toll from last week's torrential rains has now risen to 70. Moving on now, a sudden and intense hailstorm caught residents in southern Bolivia by surprise on Thursday, causing flooding in streets and forcing people to leave their homes. In fact, many homes were swept away as a result of that torrential rain. The storm, which lasted for good 30 minutes, occurred in the Tarija region, which is a city over 1,800 meters above sea level, near the border with Argentina. Thursday's hailstorm came after temperatures surpassed 30 degrees Celsius earlier in the day. Bolivian media reported that 2 hailstorms also occurred in September, which was similar to this one. Multiple buildings, including a school and at least 40 homes, were left heavily damaged on Thursday, a day after violent winds struck Malaysia's Kuala Langit. A woman was trapped under damaged material and was later rescued. According to authorities, no casualties have been reported, and all 11 mildly injured school children have received medical attention. And cameras from United States Geological Survey on Thursday captured Hawaii's Kilauea volcano erupting once again, prompting lava to flow from its crater. According to USGC website, Kilauea is one of the world's most active volcanoes and has been erupting periodically ever since December of 2024. President Donald Trump and Germany's representative said that they have now struck a deal that would cut the cost of some drugs needed for in vitro fertilization in exchange for protection from future tariffs. Take a look.
Fertility treatments like IVF could soon become more affordable for some U.S. patients. That's after President Donald Trump announced a deal with German drug maker Merck. Under the agreement, the firm will lower the cost of certain IVF drugs in exchange for protection from future U.S. tariffs.
We're here today to announce a historic victory for American women, mothers, and families. For countless millions of Americans, prices are going way down, way down.
Trump also says Merck has agreed to price all new drugs in the U.S. the same as in other developed countries, a move he says could help bring down the costs for American patients. Under the agreement, Merck's U.S. arm EMD Serono will slash the cost of 3 key IVF drugs by up to 84% when used together. The company will sell them directly to consumers through a new website called TrumpRx starting early next year. Merck also plans to fast-track approval for a new IVF drug called Pergoveris, using a special FDA program that cuts review times from up to a year to just a couple of months. The deal also includes a promise from Merck to shift more of its drug production to the U.S., aligning with the administration's push to bring manufacturing home.
And they'll bring a significant portion of their drug manufacturing back to the United States. So they're going to bring it largely back into the United States, and that's for a lot of reasons, maybe most importantly because of the tariffs, because if they do it here, there are no tariffs.
The White House says the deal could save families around $2,200 per IVF cycle, with treatments typically costing between $12,000 to $25,000. The administration is also expanding access to fertility care through insurance, with companies permitted to offer standalone fertility coverage as part of its employee benefits. Officials say small businesses can offer the coverage separately, but there's no mandate and no government subsidies.
This is a new fertility benefit option that employers can immediately offer to their employees starting today, similar to how dental, vision, and life insurance are currently offered.
Merck joins Pfizer and AstraZeneca in offering discounts for lower-income Americans through Medicaid in exchange for tariff relief.
The shares of Novo Nordisk fell by as much as 6.4% in early Friday trade after US President Donald Trump signaled the price of the Danish drug maker's weight loss drugs would be lowered. Take a look.
Novo Nordisk shares fell as much as 6.4% in early Friday trade. That was after US President Donald Trump signalled the price of the Danish drug maker's weight loss drugs would be reduced. Since taking office in January, Trump has been striving to narrow the gap between US and foreign drug prices. Under its most favoured nation policy, the US government will require drug makers no more than in other wealthy nations. Trump made the comments during a White House event on fertility treatments and drug pricing. He was asked by reporters to identify the drug that he earlier in the event said would be made less expensive.
I was referring to Ozempic or the fat loss drug.
Although Novo's Ozempic is approved to treat diabetes, it shares the same active ingredients as the group's blockbuster weight loss drug Wegovy. In the US, Ozempic has been frequently used as a so-called off-label treatment for obesity and often served as a generic reference to weight loss drugs. A Novo spokesperson said the company was in discussions with the Trump administration over the most favored nation order.
And German lawmakers are now set to discuss new military service legislations in a bid to boost numbers in armed forces. The debate has started to expose fault lines in the government made up of the centre-right conservatives and centre-left social democrat politicians. The main sticking point is when a conscription would kick in if not enough recruits and volunteers end up taking to the civil forces. Take a look.
Is Germany going to bring back compulsory military service? The short answer to that is probably not right away. There's a big debate happening in the country right now about this, the new Military Service Act. And right now, as it stands, not even the government can agree on how to ensure Germany's defence capability going forward.
The German army must grow. The national security situation demands this, particularly due to Russia's military aggression. Not only do we need a well-equipped military force, we've been working on this for the past 2.5 years, we also need a fully staffed military.
That's Boris Pistorius, Germany's defence minister. He's part of the centre-left Social Democrats. They're the junior coalition partner in the governing coalition government here in Germany. His party favours a voluntary model, whereas the conservative CDU-CSU, that's Chancellor Friedrich Merz's party, they're of a different view.
It will be voluntary for now, but I suspect it won't remain voluntary.
What he means is that if the situation demands it, Germans who are willing to fight could expect to be called up. What's already been decided is that starting next year, men aged 18 will get a questionnaire to gauge their interest in joining the military. There are around 350,000 men who are going to get a survey, and it's hoped that around 5,000 will join the military this way. What's being debated right now is that if not enough men join voluntarily, when will conscription kick in? Germany suspended conscription back in 2011, so that would be a big change for men growing up today. But what about women? They can fill out the form if they want to, but would they even get called up?
So it is still in the Constitution, just for men. It was suspended by a simple act by the majority of the members of the parliament, so it can be activated again by a simple majority of the members of the parliament, but just for men. So if we want men and women to have the obligation to do a military service, we have to change the constitution, and there we need a higher majority.
So what would make the army a more attractive option? Well, for one thing, it pays well. The Bundeswehr is also offering perks for young people, like credits towards further study courses and even help getting your driver's licence. This is all voluntary, at least for now. But with war not far away in Ukraine and Germany's increased role in contributing towards Europe's defence, it's unlikely that the debate here is going to die down.
Shifting focus now, relatives of a Trinidadian man who says he was killed in a US military strike on a boat in the Caribbean this week are demanding evidence to back up allegations by US President Donald Trump that those who died were trafficking drugs to the US. Take a look.
Family members of a young man from Trinidad and Tobago says he was killed in a recent US military attack on a boat in the Caribbean this week. The family says 26-year-old Chad Joseph was a simple fisherman. He went to Venezuela 6 months ago to find better work because he had relatives there. The family claims he died in a strike on Tuesday. Joseph's cousin, Afisha Clement, spoke out about her pain.
Donald Trump take a father, a brother, an uncle, and nephew from families. Donald Trump don't care what he do, you know. He just targeting one thing in Venezuela. And he's saying it's drug cartels. It's not that. It's not that. Donald Trump, you need to stop your and stop killing innocent people.
US President Donald Trump has ordered US troops to the southern Caribbean to fight drug trafficking. They have since hit at least 6 boats they claim were involved in illegal drugs. So far, these attacks have killed at least 27 people, but no evidence of involvement in the drug trade has been shared. The Trump administration has given little info about these strikes, no names of the dead, or details on what was on the boats.
Why, if you see a boat have narcotics on it, where's the narcotics? We want evidence, we want proof. There is nothing. The other day, they intercept a boat with 4 men on it. Why they take off the men and them and shoot up the boat after?
Joseph's mom, Lenore Burnley, said no one from Trinidad's government has reached out to her.
Nobody come and tell us nothing. All we've seen is social media, people comment to put it out there. No police, nobody.
A US official told Reuters that a strike on Thursday was the first with survivors. Legal experts question why the military, not the Coast Guard, is conducting these deadly operations.
All right, shifting focus to breaking news coming in. A fire has now broken out at the cargo terminal of Hazrat Shahjalal International Airport in Dhaka in Bangladesh. All flights have been suspended. More details are awaited. All that we know is a fire broke out in the cargo village of gate number 8 of the airport. At least 36 firefighting units have been deployed to douse the blaze, and that is according to the fire services in Dhaka. A number of flights have now been delayed, diverted due to the fire in the cargo area of Dhaka's Hazrat Shahjalal International Airport as of this afternoon. Breaking news coming in on the show. A fire broke out in the cargo village of gate number 8 of the airport, the Hazrat Shahjalal International Airport in Dhaka, where at least 36 firefighting units have been deployed to douse the fire. A number of flights have now been cancelled, delayed and suspended. More details are awaited. The fire broke out at gate number 8. 36 firefighting units are deployed to douse the fire. The cause of the fire is still unknown. As of this afternoon, Batik Air's OD-163 flight from Dhaka to Kuala Lumpur and Indigo 6C-1116 flight from Dhaka to Mumbai are waiting on the taxiway. A US Bangla airline flight from Bangkok to Dhaka has landed in Chattogram instead. And an Indigo flight from Delhi to Dhaka has landed in Kolkata instead. This as the fire broke out in Dhaka airport. It's currently being tended to by at least 36 firefighting units. Cause of the fire is unknown, but the cargo village of gate number 8 of the airport caught fire. Visuals of smoke billowing from the airport. Hazrat Shah Jalal International Airport in Dhaka, there on your screens right now, where a cargo terminal caught fire. And these are scary visuals now coming to you from Dhaka. All flights have now been suspended. We will try and ascertain all the details of what resulted in the fire, but we do know that at least 36 firefighting units are currently tending to that fire.